Forward with Gokul Chaudhri, tax leader at Deloitte, joining us now to talk about how tax and tax reforms and tax as a tool can be used in many ways by the government, also as an instrument to attract more capital flows. Of course, right ahead the budget, we are having this conversation. Gokul, thank you very much for joining us on the show today. Deloitte has come out with a very interesting report around tax reforms, and we have seen some, perhaps there is room for more, but the larger point to start the discussion on how can this be used as a tool to attract capital flows, because that is exactly at this juncture in our country need of the hour, and also the current establishment is looking towards that.
You're right, Ajay. We are at a very interesting and pivotal point in the economic history of our country. The amount of momentum that we are seeing today, where everyone, including those outside of our country, have acknowledged that we are the shining spot in the global economy. We are not just one of the largest economies which is growing at the pace it's growing, but there's a lot of expectation that the growth momentum will continue. And that growth momentum is going to be driven by not only propelling the domestic savings and investment, but also by being able to be attractive to get foreign inflow of capital into India. And if you look at it, there are a number of initiatives which are already in play. And the question which is there is how they get more incentivized? For example, if you look at the total flow of private equity and venture capital into this country, it's about 60 billion a year. The question is, what's the next level of growth that it can bring? It is about between 80 to 100 billion. So can India become $100 billion absorption capacity for private equity and venture capital? I think so. And I think that's going to be the next milestone that will achieve on that parameter, which means also bringing in a lot of foreign capital through the sovereign wealth funds and so forth. Now, one of the things that private equity as well as venture capital need is, of course, new business activity, and the startup ecosystem is a vibrant one for that. But they also need predictability and certainty. And one area around that space is this whole taxation of capital gains. And the government has been speaking about the fact that they want to try and simplify the capital gains regime, for example. So that's one theme which is there. The second aspect is this huge mega trend around climate and sustainability, and the need for the world to actually do the energy transitions, which is so critical. Now, the energy transition is going to be involving, let's say, the rollout of green bonds and green financing and so forth. And that will also bring in its own tax levers, because there will have to be an incentivization around the entire green space as to how to enable the energy transitions to happen, including the PLI for a number of products that go into the green economy, plus also the incentivize around the green bonds. So I think there are a fair number of levers that India today has to enable that capital absorption as well as capital flow incentivization.
Very interesting. Gokul, you bring up two different parts of this, conversation which we are having, and I would like to take a leaf out of some of the global voices. There were two big global events in the last 1 month, 1 to 2 months. One is COP28, where India has, reaffirmed its stance and resolution of going very, in high priority format, be it our leadership, political leadership, or even our big corporates towards energy transition. And within that, attracting the right kind of capital and partnerships globally would be very essential. That would require, taxing it right, and putting in structures which send the right message abroad to get in these kind of partnerships, not only capital. The other, just one happening at Davos, where again our political leadership, several of our ministers and corporates, and of course funds had congregated, and India's superior growth was talk of the town around there as well. What do you gather from the ecosystem, be it domestically or globally, from such events, the direction these big corporates who may forge tie-ups here in India are looking at putting in capital in both the formats, the new, the green side, as well on the traditional private equity venture side as well? What is the messaging? What are the indications you're picking up from all that global commentary?
So I think the big piece is that the India story was being built over a period of time. But there is no doubt today that everybody believes that the India story is robust, the India story is real, and the India story is certainly not a talk of the future, it's the present. So the India story is a story of the present where it has the ability to carry out the transformation of one of the largest economies, one of the largest social sectors in the world, which is our demographics, our population, our economic strength. So I think the India story and its realism is certainly coming to the forefront. So for the longest period, Ajay, all of us live with the environment that the India story is a story which will play out in the future. I think that future is today. It's becoming present. So I think people are recognizing that first as a dimension. The second aspect which is happening is that India and a lot of rules, regulations, and of course tax laws were really being reformatted for a period of time. But I think if you look at it today, they are largely designed for growth. And I think the fact that there's a strong India story, along with a regulatory framework that is designed for growth, is the important messaging that is coming through at a number of these global forums, whether it's COP 28, where the government of India made a very strong affirmation of its green credentials that it should be built, and also at Davos, where corporate world endorse the fact that when it comes to India, India brings a lot of heft into the conversation around technology development, around the market that it offers, and the talent pool that is able to bring to play an important role in the development of the world economy.
Mhm. Lastly, before I let you go, Gokul, I'd like your opinion on one more larger point. Well, the government is doing its own bit because they had promised, easing the tax structures, ease of doing business, and overall simplifying, the taxation angle. But also in our ambition to move towards $5 trillion economy size, eventually in years $10 trillion, what would it require? What more things you would like to be seen? Because you do interact with, that the clientele of yours who are looking at engaging and participating and creating value in this, the number which I spoke about. What are the gaps we need to fill?
So I think the direction of where India is going to add its muscle is becoming more and more visible from an economic perspective, and that is its very strong technology capable workforce. Um, and India is becoming the workforce for the world through the global in-house centers that are coming up, or the GCCs or global capability centers that are coming up. So therefore, if we look at the first wave of capability build that took place in India when software and ITES built up, I think the next wave, which is around the GICs, is going to be a very important play. That coupled with the fact that we're going to be able to unlock a lot of our workforce also for global export-oriented manufacturing, what we are seeing also in the context of mobile phones, for example. So I think the combination of coming of age of the new smart age manufacturing into India, and of course the GICs, which are going to become a very important part of the business segment as global economy gets served from India. These are very important levers that are in play, and I think that is going to set the next wave of growth for this country.
Outstanding. Gokul Chaudhri, thank you very much for joining us. I look forward to having more such conversation with you and your colleagues at Deloitte as we go into the budget. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.